back on this Monday night, late night special. We're grateful to have everybody back with us. We're grateful for Judge Sherilyn Allen earlier tonight, and she was great, and can thank her enough, but I am always honored, always. This is my dear brother and comrade in arms, and absolutely the best of the best of the best of the best of the best. And I'll send him a check later for that. James R. in the house tonight with us by phone. Good to see you, buddy. How are you, man? It's been a few weeks we've had you on, and we're so grateful to have you on a McFile Monday Night Late Show, brother.
Sorry about that. Thanks for having me, Chris. It's good to be here. You know, this is my favorite place to be, other than my own podcast. It's always a good time.
Always a good time, buddy. I feel the same way. And I miss you guys at Pirate Radio, and I know it's in good hands. And I listen to your space as often as I can, and I really enjoy the guests you've got. Hope we can get some of those folks over here. We had Ron, what's his last name? The J6 guy, the one that was running for Congress. But he was great, and we appreciate you getting us that and all. Hey, James, I want to ask you a question tonight off the bat. I hadn't talked to you. A lot's happened since I've talked to you last. We've had Israel basically continue to go into Rafah. I'll get to that more. But I do want to ask you I know you probably wasn't shocked. I wasn't really shocked. You had predicted it back last month, what went down in New York last week. In the Trump case, but did you hold out any hope, despite the guilty verdict, that there was one juror that would have had a brain in their body that would have seen through this bullshit and not convicted him over such a sham trial? Was there any disappointment that we didn't have one juror that saw through this crap?
Oh no, I have no disappointment. They lived up to all the expectations of the retards that they are. That's 100% certain. No, I mean, yeah, there was a little bit of hope that one of them wouldn't have been a tard, but I mean, there was never any direct evidence. That's the thing that really kills me about the way that the whole case was presented. I listened to the evidence, and there was none. There was nobody that pointed the finger and said Donald Trump directed this. There was nobody that could put together any of the mens rea elements of the case, which is the intent. You have to have criminal intent in order for anything in this world to be a crime. Literally, intent is the difference between murder and manslaughter. It's like there's no freaking intent here at all, and these guys just kept going. And that's the thing that kills me about the jury is how can you listen to no evidence whatsoever and come up with a guilty verdict? It makes zero sense to any logical, rational human being.
I know, and I was asking the judge earlier tonight whether she felt like this was all done deliberately to run the clock out on the election, because July the 11th, and James, look, you predicted this, man. I mean, you said that don't be surprised if they convict him, and now we're facing the sentencing situation, and there's been a lot of things that have happened even since the guilty verdict. This juror that evidently was had a relative that posted this crap on Facebook. I don't know whether ultimately that's going to matter or not, but do you see Mershon putting him in jail? Because I think that it backfires even more if he does this. But look, all bets are off right now, because I'm with you, man. I'm still trying to put my head around how low we've sunk in this country to basically allow a sham trial, and nobody seemed to care and step in. And I'm so sick of hearing the Republicans say we're going to write a strongly worded letter to Attorney General Garland. Well, screw your strongly worded letter. Somebody's ass needs to be in a ringer in New York for allowing this travesty of justice to take place without any kind of repercussion legally. And but do you, in your wildest imagination, believe that he would be that brazen to put him in jail and basically keep him from the convention? Because I think Trump becomes a martyr. I do. I think he becomes a martyr and wins I mean, I think it explodes. Even more than the anger is exploding out there now, I think this puts gasoline on it. What's your thoughts?
100%. Rashawn is going to put him in jail. Whether or not he suspends the sentence while they go through the appeals process, that's another story. But the sentence itself, I truly believe, will include prison time. The way that I can't say it on your network, so Pirate Radio described this on my own network, but you don't screw the country this far, this long, without climaxing. Now, I'll leave it to your imagination. Okay?
Go ahead, brother.
No, it's just a fact. Like, that's what these guys are doing, and that's exactly the outcome they have sought since day one, and it's what the left has been screaming for since day one. There's nothing in my mind that says this guy's going to be rational at the end when he was irrational the entire time. So I would definitely look for that. I would definitely look, and I've warned my audience because I want my audience prepared. I want your audience prepared. Be ready to vote for Donald Trump from the yard of Sing Sing and make Chief Justice John Roberts go swear him in the prison yard. It's going to be fantastic.
I think
it's going to be fantastic.
Absolutely, brother. But what's the political fallout of this? Do you think that it emboldens the MAGA community? Does it bring us together even more? Does even the Never Trumpers come on board after this? Did they not see the danger that we're on the slope, or do you think their heart has gotten so hatred of Trump they're salivating that this happens?
They are salivating that this happens. These are the people that can't see past their own nose. And look, I know I'm going to upset some of your audience tonight, hell, maybe even you, when we get to other matters, but I'm going to use part of that right now, which is that there's people on our side of the aisle that are just joyful that Hunter Biden may get convicted of a gun charge. And I have to remind people, like, guys, we're the people that think all of this is a farce, that there should be no gun laws. Now, I get that the trial court is not the place for that. But you should not give your enemy tools to use against you. And that's what the left is doing, the mistake they're making with Trump. They've already made. They can't believe that the polls are still showing Donald Trump in the lead. They cannot. They are baffled, which is why you've got every single person that they could possibly put on the air, like Eric Holder, James Comey, everybody trying to tell you, we'll just put a trailer over here on the prison yard for Donald Trump. It's no big deal to put him in prison. Like, they're trying to sell the American populace on this just absolute hack partisanship, and I don't want to be part of doing it in reverse. That's why I brought up the Hunter thing, is because I think people are making a mistake. They're way over their skis on this, and it's just giving the enemy more tools in their arsenal.
Buddy, I agree with you. You ain't upsetting me. I felt the same thing, and look, I don't take any glee, and I was sitting there watching him walk into that courtroom this morning, and when you get down to it, James, I mean, whatever happens on our side, we go by a different beat. When Donald Trump got convicted last week, there was no burning down of cities, there was no glass thrown, there was no cars being blown up, people getting the hell beat out of them in the streets. None of this effing, threatening, we're going to burn your cities down, and Black Lives Matter, Antifa. You didn't see any MAGA people, protesting outside the courtroom and threatening Rashawn, threatening Bragg. Look, we deal with this as human beings and not apes. And the left, I guarantee you, and they are going to, I just want justice to be served in both cases, because this is the thing. If we're going to sit there and want justice to be served with Hunter Biden, we need it for Trump. But the reality of the fact is, James, I don't know if we're ever going to see that again in this country, because there has become a 2 to 3 tier justice system But I've also got to ask you this question. Do you believe, and it's not conspiracy talk, it's a general question about the baiting. Are they baiting us up to go into the streets and start raising hell, and that way he has a reason to shut this whole thing down and declare martial law? I just think that they're salivating at that too. I think that there's a lot of reasons why Marshawn and Bragg are doing this too. It has to do with us. It's not just about Trump. Trump is a figurehead. He represents us. And they're doing this to all of us. And your analogy of the screwing, I get it. Because ain't none of us enjoying it.
Yeah, no, it's a win-win situation that you described for them. I'm not saying that they are in a win-win. I'm just saying that the situation you describe that's a win-win, right? Because they either get away with it or they get away with it.
That's right.
It's just a matter of degrees of whether or not they get all of what they want or just some of what they want. And so, yeah, that's the situation they're trying to set up in this country. You bring this up, and I think it goes to a greater discussion, which, I think it's why the left gets all of this so wrong. Is, first of all, we've talked about this many times, but first of all, Trump is a reflection of us, not the other way around.
Bingo.
But that leads you to the next stage where they see this as a, quote, civil war. And you can see that by their actions, right? You'd mentioned the rioting and the blow up your cities and all this stuff, right? And we saw today in the European Union elections where the left just got shellacked, but the left lost their mind and starts breaking into businesses because, they voted right? Because they see this as a civil war.
That's
whereas
exactly
our
right.
side sees it as a revolutionary war. It is all of us against the government. It's just half of you aren't smart enough to see that it's the government that is going to take away everybody's rights. And it's on display right now. They're already arresting Democrats everywhere and raiding their offices. And I'm talking about prominent Democrats that are getting just as shellacked as, in some ways, Donald Trump. And even though people may not see it, because of we'll call it the political haze that's over their eyes. I mean, we've got Democrat congressmen under FBI investigations with them, raiding Democrat congressmen's offices. We got a senator of the Democrats in trial. We've got the FBI raiding a district attorney's office in the state of Mississippi. I mean, are the signs not there for you people yet to understand that it's the government that's against all of us?
Absolutely.
Apparently not. Left.
I'm with you, buddy. No, look, I think you just nailed it right there, James. And right, Europe is going up in smoke tonight. I mean, they're pissed off. And Macron got shellacked by Le Pen. I mean, that was like, not just, but Belgium's anti-Trump leader got handed his backside, his ass in elections tonight. And again, the left always does this. My question to you is this. Does it do... I heard Brett Tolman say something the other night on one of the shows, and I'm going to get your opinion about this because this is the temptation on the right too. And I don't know if we win by doing this, we lose by doing this, or, as you said, we let them get away with it, screw us up the keister, and... By the way, Elaine Willard had the quote of the night. She says, I at least want to kiss before they do that to us, okay? So, that's a good quote, Elaine. Thank you. But they don't even kiss us, James. Man, they don't do nothing. We're not even, at least, I shouldn't say what I was about to say. But anyway, James, are the Republican DAs missing an opportunity here to do the same to the left? Do we do anything? Judge Allen seemed to think that's not the way to go. Brett Tolman felt differently. He felt like that this needed to be done because they're bullying. This has become lawfare bullying. It's almost become a form of bullying in the courts and to the left, or the left to the right. And does the right need to do it to the left, or do we just again throw fuel on an already burning fire that is only going to consume all of us?
Well, I just broke down on Pirate Radio last week Trump's interview with Dr. Phil, and it's very telling for what's going to happen. But you asked the question of what should happen, and so I'm going to deal with that. first, which is absolutely, this is like your children, right? Spare the rod, spoil the child. They opened Pandora's box. Clearly, these people have so much ego, so full of hubris, that they cannot see that they opened up Pandora's box. They need to be taught the lesson the hard way. You know, you can tell a kid, don't touch the stove, it's hot. Don't touch the stove, it's hot. Don't touch the stove, it's hot. Someday, they're going to have to burn themselves before they figure out, oh shit, the stove is hot. That's where we're at with the left, is that if we don't get some enterprising Republican DAs going after these people, they will never learn the lesson of why we should never do this. I've even been on record, and I'll say it again to go on another record. We should not be cheering for them going after Senator Bob Menendez.
I'll agree.
Anymore
I'll agree.
than we should be cheering about them going after Trump. Because, look, do you trust the FBI or not?
No.
It's that simple.
No.
That's the simple question, right? So how can you trust the government's case against Senator Bob Menendez? You can't. Right? And so what is it? It's politics. And it's always going to be perceived as politics. That's why you don't open Pandora's box. I get it. There's going to be people out there. But then what do we do about the criminals? You vote them out of office or don't vote them in the first place. And everybody says, oh, but I don't care about the cheating. I'm going to tell you this right now. I agree with you. You guys all know I agree with you. However, voter apathy is what is killing us in this country.
It is.
It is the pessimists that sit at home on their couch and do nothing to ensure that their future is better. I can illustrate this in Texas, of all places. Everybody in this chat probably is like, Texas, the most American state in the union. Great. Tony Gonzalez just won his primary runoff against Brendan Herrera in Texas 23. And he won where only total votes, the total number of people that even bothered to show up at the polls was 30,000. Out of a potential of 750,000 people, only 30,000 showed up.
That's pathetic.
And you wonder why you get the government you deserve. You get the government you vote for. And that's what we see happening. That's why the get out the vote drive is the most important drive in this entire thing. The things you do, the things I do, although my statement now is self-serving, I don't care. We have to motivate people to get off of their couches and get in the game. That's what this is all about.
I'm so glad you said that. I've said it too on this network, and I get all sorts of blowback, and I've been called naive and everything in the book. But James, I've always felt the same thing you did about this apathy and also the pessimism. It's like that because people, we take hits and people get down. They don't understand this is a long-term battle. This ain't a skirmish, and wars are battles can be lost and wars won. But if you don't keep fighting, the war will be lost. And our side, for whatever reason, we've talked about this together, we've talked about this separately. The Democrats, I don't care if one of their candidates defecated on the flag, the U.S. flag on the front porch of the White House. I don't care if one of their candidates ran naked down Pennsylvania Avenue with a sign that says, I love blanking children, and I'm the biggest sex offender in the world, or I'm the biggest liar in the world, admitting it. The Democrats, they are going to vote for that person. They're not going to betray their own. Not often. They do it sometimes, but for the most part, the Dems pull rank and they close ranks on people that struggle with things. The right, if somebody sneezes wrong, or they don't fit our 100% purity test, or they don't wear the tie we think they should wear, they don't put a hat on we think they should wear, they don't smile the way we think they should smile, they cough a certain way and we don't like it, we won't vote for them. We'll sit our asses at home and won't vote because we don't like him, and I just don't understand. I'm just tired of all these rhinos. Well, the whole freaking country's full of rhinos, James. When you get down to it, there's a few that's not. But when it comes to that general election, you're going to have to hold your nose. If you want to change the course of the country, you change it at the primary. But you just said something. This is the problem. People don't vote in the primaries. You got 700,000 damn people in Texas, and only 30,000 showed up to vote. what the hell do you expect? Nothing's going to change because in the general, it's too late. You can't vote left. You've got to vote right come November, correct?
That's pretty accurate. And, I'm one of the people that has often said, I'm done with this better red than dead shit because every time we just get screwed in the long run. But at the same time, what are we going to do? We're going to vote for more tyranny? Who does that? Right? We have to get ourselves on the path to salvation. And it's just like your biblical talks that you give. And I know people are going to be like, I can't believe James is talking about Bible stuff, right? But you have to understand that the path is narrow. That doesn't mean that you're all just sit on the couch and say, well, the path's too narrow for me. Forget about it. No. You try to be a better guy every day. You try to fit the narratives and the prescriptions of Christianity every day. That's what you have to do in your life every day. Stop offboarding your safety to a government that will never be there in time. Stop doing that. But that's what people do. They just offboard the problems in their lives to somebody else so that they can watch their freaking Netflix at night and chill. We've got to change our mindset.
We do, James.
And realize that it's up to us. Everything in this country happens at the will of the people. And by the way, sitting at home, you're exercising the will to sit at home. So, you might like bitching about it, but you're the one that caused the problem.
Well, look, I've seen crap over the internet just this last week or two about Trump not being, who he says he is, and Trump this, Trump that. Well, who in the hell are you going to go? Who in the hell are you going to turn to in November? Are you going to sit your asses home and sit on a sofa and not vote? Are you going to exercise your constitutional right and go vote for Donald Trump? Or are you going to let us have 4 more years of the Biden fiasco that we have got? Because, James, I said this earlier tonight, and I'll run it by you. I believe that 95% of the country tonight has made their mind up about November. There's only about 5%, maybe 10, that probably can be swayed one way or the other. And they're people that probably don't even follow politics. They don't even care about the country. They're just these casual, live by the whim, their whim. I think most people have decided, and if you cannot look at Donald Trump's record for 4 years, and then look at Joe Biden's, what he's done to this country in 3.5, and then look me in the face and say, I would rather have the crap that we're in tonight compared to what Trump tried to help us with and do for 4 years, you're just a plain damn fool. I'm sorry. You're just a plain damn fool. Correct?
Well, 100% right. Forgive me for a minute here because I think that the fire department is going to drive by me. So it's going to get pretty fucking loud. But no, you're 100% right. Let me shut my mic for a minute.
The fire department heard me. They're saying, we're coming by to give that fire signal to tell Chris he's absolutely right. James is on hold right now.
Yeah, I apologize, guys. That would have just killed anybody with some earphones on. Would have just been like, oh my god. The left is on a mission, and their mission is antithetical to American values. It is, but they've been telling you who they are for decades. Believe them. Fucking believe them. Wake up and understand that this is what they love. There's a lot of people out there, conspiracy theories, not conspiracy theories, ideas, because they're trying to make sense of what they're seeing in the world. And they say things like, Joe Biden might not even run. And they grasp at these straws. And I try to remind people, he's the perfect Democrat president. Do you not get this? This is what they love.
This is what they love.
They tell you this all the time.
Absolutely.
Is that they want a guy that will literally sign anything you put in front of him. I mean, you can put a roll of toilet paper in front of him and say, this is the bill we're signing, and he would sign it. And they love that because they believe in this idea of czarism where, they say it all the time. Why didn't Trump listen to the experts? Well, because clearly the experts were fucking wrong.
That's
Look
right.
at the news today.
That's right.
Right? You got to be able to listen to experts and then realize when they're wrong or making a mistake or doing something that's not in the greater interest of the country. And so that's why we have to break this cycle of apathy and pessimism in this country. Look, I tell you this all the time. Being pessimistic is easy. It's a no-brainer. I mean, I can be pessimistic about every single news story that comes across our desks, and I could just say the typical pessimistic line of nothing's going to happen. Oh, it doesn't matter. They'll get away with it. Nothing's going to change. And nobody's going to call me on it when I'm wrong. Why? Because they're happy that you were wrong. But that misery cycle that you've created causes everybody that's listening to you to be miserable all the time. That's really what's happening when you're pessimistic.
That's
You're
right.
just spreading your own misery to everybody else.
That's right, brother. And misery loves company, as the old saying goes. Misery loves company. Did you, you mentioned the overseas things tonight. Do you, let me come back to our domestic elections, and I was my train of thought got lost there. Vice President, it's pretty clear he's got to start getting serious about this VP. Saw J.D. Vance this morning on Fox. He wouldn't give up the goods whether they're really seriously looking at him. His name's not been mentioned much. Marco Rubio is a strange name, James. Did you see Marco Rubio having a shot at the VP for Trump?
Oh, yeah. Look, so there's things that people, like you mentioned it earlier, of whys, right? There's always whys. Okay, so what do we have a problem with in this country? A lot of rhinos, okay? A lot of rhinos love Marco Rubio as a choice. Why? Because he's not J.D. Vance. Because he's not a Carrie Lake type or a Sarah Huckabee Sanders type, right? So that's a sop to them if he were to be the vice president. And vice presidents are always about what is their upside that they bring to me. And that, for example, why did Mike Pence become the vice president the last time? Because at that time, Trump needed to shore up the evangelical vote. And he did that successfully by choosing Mike Pence as his vice president. Okay? So what do we have this time around? I don't really know, to be honest with you. To be perfectly frank, I don't know where we have a problem other than educated white women, right? Marco Rubio might solve some of that educated white women. He really might, because they tend to be on the Nikki Haley fence, those people. The kind of establishment types, the Republicans and name-only types. They're usually one or two issue voters that they can't think past their own feet, right? I'm sorry, but that's just the facts, right? That's the way that the demographics break out. So Trump needs to shore that position up. Now, that's the pragmatic answer. There's also the answers of a strategic one, right? Because you asked specifically about Marco Rubio, so that's really where I'm staying, and I'm trying to be focused here.
Right.
Is that in the military, this happens every single day, that you promote an idiot out of a combat role and stick him in supply. Why? So he doesn't get anybody freaking killed, okay?
That's
so
true.
The same is true in politics and the government in general. You promote some of these people to get them out of your way in order to make room for better candidates. By the way, that happened frequently in Trump's first election. Jeff Sessions, no offense, he got out of the game because they put a better candidate in his seat to then run with the incumbency. Okay? Like, this is what sometimes you do when you win the presidency, is you promote people out of your way so you can get better candidates that more currently reflect those candidates. And so there's strategic reasons. There's also pragmatic reasons. There's lots of reasons why he has a shot.
Do you think he makes a better choice than Vance, or do you think Tim Scott? And again, I hate to bring the race thing in here. I like all three. Look, it's not personal. I don't have no problem with Marco Rubio. I'm with you. I think I see I totally get your analogy. I see what you're saying. I agree with you 1,000,000%. But speaking strategically, which of those three men help him the most. And I like Burgum, the Doug Burgum, the governor, the former governor of New Jersey,
Yes.
North Dakota. He's a good guy. He's smart.
Yes.
And I think he's well-spoken. His temperament sort of balances Trump's fire and all. But of the four men, which one does James R. believe would be the most beneficial to Trump to put on that ticket, strategically?
It's a great question. And it's one I don't know that I really could answer. I think they all have intangibles, but when I look at when I'm gonna analyze what is Trump's biggest issue from winning, I'm always gonna go back to what the best information we have right now is educated white women. So I think that's ultimately the question.
Right. Which
one of those four does the most for educated white women to shore that vote up or to gain those voters back that were lost or that are in the never Trump category? And I got to think that it's actually Marco Rubio.
Yeah.
That's my gut instinct, is that of those four, he's the guy that does the most on that category front.
Let me ask you this. Do you think, too, that he can articulate the Latino issue, the border issue, better than the other three? Because this issue hits home in Florida, and him being a immigrant himself, if I'm correct, he was an immigrant himself. Does that help Trump, too, make the argument? Because, James, most people, from every poll I've seen, when you start listening to things that people care about, they don't give two blanks in a wind about Stormy Daniels or this J6 crap that people are trying to throw up about Trump. They are concerned about that border. That border keeps coming up number one, and the cost of groceries in this country. I mean, I'm telling you, man, and I just think you're onto something, and I think that Marco Rubio can help him articulate that in a compassionate yet firm manner where Trump don't come across looking like he wants to kick everybody out of the country, which is really the only thing we can do, really. That's what we should do. But what's your thoughts on that? Do you think that helps him with the Latinos?
That again, you always ask me hard-ass questions, Chris. I gotta tell you, man, I freaking love you for it, though. I really do. But it's a difficult answer because the question isn't which one's more articulate to us. The question is who's more articulate to them. And that's what gets that rub, is that it's hard for me to put myself in their shoes and say, well, would I rather see Mr. Latino over here tell me all about it? Or would I rather see J.D. Vance tell me all about it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't have the answer, because if it was about what I thought who the most articulate on the subject would be, it'd be J.D. Vance. I think J.D. Vance crushes the rest of the guys. I think he's more energetic, younger. He's more on point. He can articulate the issues. I'm going to go with J.D. Vance over all of them if it was only about MAGA. Right, if it's only about America first, but it's not. It's about the middle. It's about the independents. It's about those dumbass educated white women, right? That's where the rubber meets the road. So again, gut instinct says Marco Rubio's better, right? And you're correct to point out the number one and number two issue is the economy and the border, which are inextricably linked.
Absolutely.
That's what's moving Chicago.
Come on.
That's why Chicago blacks are voting red. Because they finally got their own pockets impacted by the policies of the Democrats.
And
which is the number one affecting is the border.
Absolutely.
And so, when you understand that, and you also understand that the real enemy in all of America isn't even the government, believe it or not, as bad as they are. The real enemy in America is the mainstream media.
Come on, brother.
They're the ones directing the sheep. They're the ones that are hiding the facts or inarticulately pushing you a narrative that changes how America thinks about problems and thinks about issues, because they're not getting any other diet other than the left narrative. And so when you look at, so the media is the number one enemy, well, which one of them is going to have less problems with the media? It's going to be Marco Rubio. So there's another point in his favor, right? Is that it's just where we are in this country, and it's trying to fight this battle, because it's not the war, but if we lose the battle, we can't even fight the war. It's an interesting thing, Chris, and I love the tough questions you always give me. You give me like freaking calculus problems for fucking politics, man.
That's why I got you on, man. That's why I pay you the big bucks to come on the show. Hey, I got a question that's already popped up, and Corey Aguilar lives in Florida, and her question is legitimate. Is Marco Rubio, though, trustworthy not to stick a damn knife up Trump's back like Pence ultimately did? And she expresses that as a question, but as a concern. Are you concerned about that in any way?
100%. I just got done saying that if it was up to me, J.D. Vance crushes him. Yeah. Right? Like, 100. But at the same time, I have to be pragmatic, and I have to be realistic, and I have to look at, the real analysis here. What does the data tell me is important to winning the election? Because if we don't win the election, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, or anyone else is never going to get a chance to stab him in the back.
I'll agree.
Right? We have to get on the path to salvation. So that path may look fugly, right? It may look like a Marco Rubio VP that may ultimately try to screw Trump over. But at the end of the day, Trump is not the same person he was when it came to the government the first time around. Yeah. We've talked about this openly on your show, right? We know that there is actually a shadow MAGA government with him right now that is making sure that we're ready to hit the ground running. We've got organizations that are preparing complete vetting lists of all the J6ers so that on day one, Donald Trump can free the ones that need to be freed, pardon the ones that need to be pardoned, and go from there correctly and smartly and not just willy-nilly and winging it, right? We've got people that are paying attention to world issues, talking, giving back-channel information with Netanyahu and what's going on in Israel, with what's going on in the Ukraine. We've got functioning people around him that he knows, that he's vetted, that he's trusting, and that I don't think are gonna be able to stab him in the back just because they don't have the desire. Look at the work that some of these people are putting in, like Kristi Noem and Kash Patel and Matt Whitaker and Mike Davis. And the list really goes on and on and on. People get so focused on the Lindsey Grahams of the world, though, that they forget about all the good people that are out there.
Great point, James. Great point.
I think the worst of the bunch, by the way, isn't even Marco Rubio. It's Tim Scott.
Tim Scott. I'm with you. I'm with you. And again, my gut tells me Vance is going to be the one. But I will say this, and I'm looking at the chat, and there's a theme that's coming through. And the lady that's asking about them living in Florida, that can be a quick fix. Trump's got enough money, he can move to Montana tomorrow. That ain't going to be an issue. That won't be an issue, him being from the same state Rubio's from, if it's Rubio. But, James, I do think that trust is going to be his big thing, because I think Pence, he picked Pence for strategic reasons in 2016, and there was a love affair, but it ended. The love affair ended badly, man. I mean, it wasn't one of these, let's just be friends and have coffee after this. They're not friends. And I think that Trump's learned a lot of lessons. I'll say this about, it's not just Pence. There's a lot of people, buddy, that was in that cabinet of his and that inner circle of his that did nothing but backstab him and turn on him. And I pray that those lessons that he learned from that are going to be well serving him this go around. And I'm totally with the sentiment I'm seeing in the audience. I do believe trust is going to be the bigger issue, and I'm with you. I'm with them, and I'm with you. I think it's going to be an interesting choice. This Ben Carson, Zella, I respect your opinion, and I'm not. This is not a shot at you. I just don't believe Ben Carson has the oomph to carry the arguments that Trump's going to have carried to the country. That's just my opinion. I think he's almost too nice. He's a good man, and I hope Trump puts him back in the cabinet like he did before. But and Tim Scott sort of falls in that category with me too, James. What about you? I just think that you can almost be so too mellow. You know, I mean, Trump is the reason we love Trump. We had somebody in the house earlier tonight, and their point was well stated about Trump needs to not run off at the mouth. But see, I said earlier tonight, that's why we love Trump, because he runs off at the mouth. You know, he don't keep it in. He's unfiltered, and we love that about him. That's why he's Trump. He wouldn't be Trump if he didn't run off at the mouth. And that vice president can balance that out. But you don't want somebody that's not going to say something and fight with him. He's got to have a fighter with him and somebody he can trust. Now, that's Chris's late night, Monday night pancake version of who I believe should be vice president. Did I do all right in the James R. file of politics?
Yeah, look, I got to say it this way. I like Ben Carson. I think he would be a good vice president. And I think that he could help Trump out and that he could shore some things up. But ultimately, I want to address Trump needs to stop running off at the mouth. I 100% disagree with that. Let's not forget that it was Trump, quote, running off at the mouth that solved North Korea.
Yes, he did.
Right? Let's not forget that it was Trump running off at the mouth that created the avenue for the Abraham Accords. Let's not forget that it was Trump running off at the mouth that moved the embassy to Jerusalem. Like, let's not forget that Trump doesn't create problems with what he's saying. Everybody that doesn't like it, it's a decorum argument again, right? And that's what it is. They don't like the language. Well, those are the same people that don't like my language. And you know, my choice words for that. I don't really care, right? Like, it's like decorum has no place in telling people the truth.
That's
the
right.
Truth is unvarnished, right? Varnishing the truth is how we got in this mess.
Bingo.
Varnishing the problems in this country is how we got into this hole that we are in. So, no, I totally disagree with he needs to stop running out. In fact, I think he should do it more. Yeah. Because it solves issues. Because people know exactly where you stand. You know, it's funny. Those decorum people, I'm going to say this again. I know I've said it on your show before, but just for the decorum people in case they're watching. You know, I run spaces all the time, and obviously even for this very interview, I cuss all the time, right? It is because they're the most appropriate words that fit into the sentence so that people know what the hell you're saying.
Thank you.
Okay?
Exactly right.
But here's the thing, is that I ran a space with 6 sitting members of Congress, right? People elected, people in the government, people pulling the levers of power. And you know who dropped the F-bomb in that interview? Every single one of the sitting members of Congress, not me.
I don't doubt it.
It wasn't me.
I don't doubt it.
So when you get to the decorum issue, understand that all what you're seeing on television from these politicians is a facade.
Bingo.
It's make-believe. It is Hollywood. That is not anything what those people are like in normal operations. They're putting on airs. Those are fake people. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The people that are real were those 6 congressmen in that space talking one-on-one with American people. That's the real deal. So don't tell me about this decorum argument about Trump needs to stop running off at the mouth, because he's solved more problems than he's caused with it.
I'll agree 100%. And again, I see the other side's point, but it doesn't matter ultimately, because look, are you okay? Are you on board with the fact that most of the country's made their mind up, and it would take something just humongously huge to change minds at this point, maybe other than 5 to 10%? Is that an accurate statement, you think, what I said?
That's a tough one again, because I sort of agree with you on the flavor of it, but what I'm watching happen in real time is the black people walking away from the left. I'm watching the gays walk away from the left. I'm watching the youth walk away from the left. I'm watching all the movement that's actually happening right now. And that movement tells you that things aren't static. They're not as static as we like to think they are.
Gotcha.
But in the broader scheme of things, I think that you're correct. That, a vast portion of this country is either made up their mind already or thinks they have made up their mind. And they're not really going to be awake until October, which is why October surprises work. There's a reason why everybody has October surprises, because they work, because of the way the populace is. Most of the population is not watching this podcast, right?
Great point. No, that's a great point.
Most of the population is at their kids' soccer game. But they're not even paying attention. They're not even tuned into politics.
It's very true.
Right? Like most of them don't even necessarily know Trump was found guilty, believe it or not.
That's very true,
buddy. They just assume it. So, yeah, October is when the normies kind of pop their heads out of their gopher holes, and that's when you got to hammer them.
What kind of, you got any crystal ball idea what kind of October surprise is coming? I know we never know these things. You think they're going to do the virus stuff again, or do you think they're going to try something else this year?
Well, I think part of this October surprise will be focused more on the vice presidential candidate.
Okay.
Because all of Trump's stuff is known, right? It's all backfiring, and none of it's working. In fact, the media is making, by the way, this ought to make everybody laugh. The media is making the same mistake this year that they made in 2015. They gave Trump $500 million in free earned media. This cycle, they're giving him like $1 billion in free earned media. So it's backfiring tremendously on them because of that. And some of them are waking up to that, but they can't help themselves. But again, all of Trump's dirt is known by everybody. Like, there's nothing new that's going to come out. There's going to be legal twists. There's going to be pushes on the same issues. They're going to continue those issues. You're going to still have the leftists that are just too stupid for school, that are running around saying Trump's a rapist and Trump's a felon, and all of that shit's going to continue, but it's not effective. So they're going to need an October surprise that's outside the box, and I think it's going to cover the vice presidential candidate, who's an unknown right now. Yeah. And we're not going to know him for another month, but they're still going to end up with 4 or 5 months of gearing up for those people. And let's not forget, most of the dirt that comes out on these people is not coming from the left. Believe it or not, it's coming from the right.
That's so true, James. That's right.
That's where that stuff comes from.
Absolutely.
It comes from the people with hurt feelings. Right? It comes from the butthurt that say, I can't believe he picked Marco Rubio. I was a much better candidate. You know what? Fuck those guys. I'm gonna blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean?
That's very true.
So that's what happens.
No, I'm with you, buddy. I'm totally with you. Hey, one other quick question. I've kept you. I hope I'm not interfering with your work too bad today. I'm going to get you go here in a minute. But what about Dana White? I'm seeing that name pop up with some of the folks saying Dana White would make a good vice president. Wouldn't that be a Trump in the UFC heavyweight fighter Trump White ticket? Man, you talking about that being some fun.
It'd be fun, there's no doubt, but I don't think he shores up educated white women.
No, he does not. No, that's right. He does not. That is true. But it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting if me and you would run on a ticket. You know, the Chris McDonald, James R. We could run. Look, I'm gonna tell you something. I think that our first week on the campaign trail would be worth $1 million. Me and you could retire on the views on YouTube alone of our first press conference together, our first slapdown of the fairies on CNN and MSNBC and all these people that are this wishy-washy type, the James R. Chris McDonald School of Politics, we would be an internet sensation. Now, we wouldn't get a vote in the world, but I tell you what, it'd be the funnest 3 days of our life.
I agree with that. You know, it's funny you say that we wouldn't get a vote in the world, because believe it or not, and I get that somebody else is going to steal this idea now, but that's all right, is that I have an idea and a concept for a campaign that is totally counterintuitive, runs even against some psychological operation, which is, I want to run a "Don't Vote for Me" campaign. Like, that's the campaign I want to sink my teeth into, because I think that it would really resonate with people. And the answer every time the media pushed back would be like, I fucking told you not to vote for me.
That would rock and roll, James R. That would rock and roll, brother. Hey, man, any other thoughts real quick? I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Anything on James R's plate that you want to share with us tonight? Hey, I want to ask you a favor. I love these Monday night late file chats, and I know Monday night's your easiest night to come on. I really want us, as we get into the summer, into the fall, and I definitely want you, I know election night, we'll have to share you with your other networks, but we want you to be on the panel as we watch these election results come in. But I really want you to start coming on very regularly, maybe every other week or every 3 weeks or something, because I really enjoy these Monday night chats with you. They're really informative. We got a bigger audience. You draw a bigger audience on Monday night than I do, man. What's going on with this? Anyway.
I'm better looking because they can't see me, Chris.
Well, that's true too, but I didn't want to bring that part up. You have a face. I've been told that we all both have a face for radio, right? That's what I was told one time. So
there you go.
But what is your sentiment where the nation's at tonight overall? I mean, where do you think the barometer is? I know that we're pissed off out here. But I guess the question I'm asking, are we pissed off enough? Because I just think that I go back to this apathy thing that you talked about a while ago. That's the biggest thing we're fighting against, James, in our own side. We're fighting that on our own turf. We really are.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more there. But, again, you ask the difficult questions, and I have to come up with the right answers, because that's what I pride myself on, right, is my ability to analyze really what is going on or where we are. And I got to tell you, man, I'm probably more hopeful today than I was 6 months ago, and I'm probably more confident in the American people than I was 6 days ago. And it's because I'm watching things happen that should happen. Again, referencing back to watching Chicago blacks say we're done with the Democrats. I'm watching on Twitter in black-only spaces black people saying, you better not be bloating for those blue MFers. Like, these are big things that are happening in this country. And it's giving me a hope that we're absolutely where we should be, moving in the right direction for once. Moving in the right direction of the people, not just some politician, not just the same old tired thing. And even I wanted to reference back to the comment that you made about your previous guest, the judge. I think she's just as correct about what she said, that we're not there yet, because that Republican DAs attacking the left isn't necessarily the answer, because it does just lead to the situation of the Pandora's box the left opened. It does lead to destruction.
It does.
And that's what we have to understand as a nation, that sometimes you got to be the bigger person, even though you might pay for it down the road. And I use this example when I say stuff like that. Look at your own wife or your own husband. One of you is always the person to say sorry first, even if they didn't commit the offense. Because somebody always has to be the one to put the olive branch out first. Otherwise, no progress gets made. And so we have to be more pragmatic in our approach to these things, as angry as we are, to understand that we're moving in the right direction. And I'll just say this. Our side is a tiny bit over their skis, too, because they're so angry at what happened to Trump. But Trump's not a convicted felon yet. Judge Merchan still has the mistrial motion before him, and he still has the summary judgment option before him. Now, do I think those two things are likely to occur? No. But all things in due time means Donald Trump is still going to have the appeals process.
Yes.
So there's still three answers before us that don't lead to bigger problems down the road. So all things come in their due time. So I want to make sure that I say that, because your previous guest is just as correct as we are about how the left's got to learn their lesson the hard way, clearly. But how that lesson gets taught may look different than what we think it looks like today.
So well said, my friend. So well said. And listen, I'm looking forward to having you on throughout the summer into the fall. I know we got a fight to fight, and we're comrades in arms. We've always been that, and you're my brother, and I appreciate you. I'm so excited, really, truly, that you and the family are headed this way over to the States, and looking forward to seeing you in person this summer, man. So good meeting you last year, and it's been a long time coming, and you know you've always got to welcome Matt here, and encourage folks to listen to James's Spaces. He's on X every day. What time is your Spaces, James, usually that you come on?
Almost every day of the week. It's always going to be right around 8 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
Oftentimes I'm out there earlier on other spaces, but that's more homework than me spouting off at the mouth. Pretty much I spout off after 8 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty much the same. Trump Tuesday tomorrow. We're going to talk to a liberal lunatic that went to the Trump rally in Vegas. So that might get interesting. That might get fun. Well, yeah, I mean, the guy, he dressed like a leprechaun. So, I mean,
I got to learn how to come on there and hold my hand up like the class in the space and get on sometimes. I still ain't figured that out, but I will one day. Hey, buddy, I love you, man. I appreciate you.
Don't worry about the hand. You come to my space, you know you're going to get a mic, just like you always give me a mic on your show. I'm looking forward to being here as often as is humanly possible. And your show always gets priority over anybody's show. I don't care who it is. No matter what it is. So don't worry about it. I'm going to be here for you and your audience.
I feel the same about you, brother. Listen, be safe. Enjoy your time tonight with your family. Give the best to Tina and the baby. And I love you guys. And I'll see you soon, man.
Will do. Thanks, brother. Love you.
Good night, James. You too, buddy. James R., everybody. I appreciate James R. more than he'll ever know. He was good tonight. He was really good. Good thoughts. And I want to just read some of the comments. I couldn't keep him on forever because he's working. He actually works. And when he's doing these shows with us like this, he's taking a break off of his work. And that's why I appreciate him so much. And just want to read a few things. And I just want to say this. And here it was the one that mentioned Trump and all. We're not, and we're in no ways taking issue with people that believe that Trump needs to weigh it in, because that's just an opinion, and James has his, I have mine. And that's one thing about this show. I mean, look, unless you're disrespectful and this we had an anti-Semite pop in here tonight. We don't allow anti-Semitism on this network, and if you're a Jew hater or Israel hater, you need to go somewhere else. I don't allow character assassination on this network. We don't allow people, and I don't even allow Trump hatred. Look, we're a conservative, pro-Trump network. If you want to go spew Trump hatred, go find a Trump hate network and enjoy yourself spewing your Trump hatred. And as long as you're respected, we don't mind differences of opinion. I see names for vice president I personally don't agree with, but the people that are giving them, I more than agree with you that we are grateful that you're here and part of this network little group, and we're grateful for you. We've always been accused of trying to quelch free speech, and that's the biggest crock of blank in the entire world. We've just always wanted people to be respectful, and that's not easy sometimes in this environment that we live in this country. I love what James said tonight. I really do, and I hope you caught it, folks. I'm sorry has to come first from somebody. An olive branch goes a long way. And that's so true, because sometimes pride has to be put down for reconciliation. You can forgive somebody from the heart, but if you're going to have reconciliation, sometimes you got to put your pride down, swallow your pride, and do the right thing. It's one thing my dad taught me a lot growing up. I watched my dad do it, and it didn't feel good sometimes swallowing that pride, but he did it. And, I think we all can learn a lesson from that tonight. And I appreciate James's wisdom on that, and I hope you caught that as he goes out tonight. I didn't think you took any offense, Harriet. I'm so grateful you're here. I'm grateful you didn't take offense, and I hope nobody else did either. I wanted to just read a few comments. ZELLE says, answered prayer after years watching black people walk away from the Dems and Latinos love macho men. We need more macho men, please. True, but not the macho men that sing YMCA, ZELLE. I'm just saying. I'm sorry. Or what is that? Not what were they? What the macho men? What were they? The Village People. The same Macho Man. That's what I was thinking when I saw that. That's the first thing that came to mind. I said, no, we don't need the Village People boys. And that's a loose term, and I'll just leave it at that. But I get your point. And, I just shared that with Lori Mills this afternoon. I talked to Lori. She's so excited. She's going to make her McFile debut Thursday night. You're going to love Lori Mills. Lori's opinionated, just like James R. She ran for the representative for Congress out in California and almost took out an incumbent candidate in Los Angeles, was the seat of power, and got 49% of the vote. She came close, 51-49. That's as close as you can get in politics. And there was probably some things that went on that she probably would have won if they would have really done things right. But that's another issue. But I told her today that one of the worst things that I see happening in this country right now is the demasculinity of men. And men are being painted in all segments of society as bad. Being a man that's truly a man is being painted as being bad. And it is in every sector. The church is doing it. The economic world's doing it. The school system's doing it. Sports is doing it. That's why you're integrating. You're seeing this integration of men and women in one sport. And ladies, this is not a sexist remark, but there is no room in men's sports for women. And men, there is no room in women's sports for men. They're separate, and they always need to be separate. And in a relationship, when it comes to marriage, the man is the head of the house. He is the head of the woman. That's scriptural. But folks, if you think about marriages that fail, usually it's when the man has usurped authority. And I'm not talking about these men that are tyrants and they're abusive and beating women and all this, folks. That's not what I'm saying, and I'm sure some idiot blank out there will take my words and twist them and claim I'm saying that, and I'm not saying that. But I'm talking about a man that is a godly man, a gentle man, a gentle man. That's what gentleman means, a gentle man that leads. He is supposed to be the ordained head. He makes the decisions. He's the breadwinner. He's the provider. And that has been turned into something ugly in this nation. And the lines have been marred. And we can't even determine what's a man anymore. I had a questionnaire. I had to go to the doctor today to have my eyes checked out. And I've got a colonoscopy coming up Thursday. A consultation at least. And I had to fill out a questionnaire for the insurance. And literally, in the questionnaire, there was a part where it used to be, what's your sex, male, female? You had two choices. That was it. For the first time, and I've been going to this doctor for almost 5-6 years now. In that questionnaire, I had to do it online, there were choices. And they literally said in the questionnaire, how do you want to be addressed? What pronoun do you want to be addressed as? I could not believe it. And I wanted to write a lot more in the little blank, but I'll save that for later. But it's happening. Everything. There's not one segment of society this ain't touching. And to the guys out there tonight, please be a man. God ordained you to be a man. This world needs you to be a man. This nation needs you to be a man. And if the powers that be don't like you being a man, don't stop being a man because the powers that be don't like it. You are and I are men. We dress like men. We shake hands like men and not limp fish. We don't act feminine. as women, we are men, and we need to start acting like it. And that's why leadership in this country, it's late night, folks. It's a late night McFiles, because I can say what I want to say. It's a late show tonight. It's a late show tonight. I'll say amen. I'll amen myself. And so forth. Mary Cleveland says we need a vice president who is strong like Trump so that we can have confidence that Trump's policies will continue. I don't see Rubio in that. Mary, I want to say there's a lot of comments about Rubio and the negativity about Rubio. And folks, I don't think that James R. was so much pushing Rubio. I think that what he's saying, though, Trump's going to look at this strategically. There are pros to Rubio, and I tend to agree with the sentiment about the trust issue. I don't trust Rubio. I just don't. And I see him as another Pence. I just do. And when push comes to shove, I don't know if he'd have President Trump's back. And the other thing that I feel about that is that the fact that Trump's a lame duck. Once he gets in, he's got 4 years. That's all he got. Mary, your point is well taken. I believe Trump, this is my opinion, I think he's looking at this, who will carry on for him after 2028. That's why, and I know this name don't gender a lot of warm and fuzzies from a lot of people, and I don't believe he's on Trump's list, and that's Ron DeSantis. I've talked to some people in Florida about Ron DeSantis. Ron has seen the error of his ways. I'm not sure how bad it's hurt him, but most people around DeSantis has expressed, at least what I've heard. Now, you may have heard something else, and that's fine. But what I've heard is that he is regretful. And him and Trump had a phone call here about a month or two ago, and he expressed his thoughts to Trump that he should have probably thought twice about doing what he did, because Trump let him know I didn't like it. Trump's like that. And Ron acknowledged that Trump didn't like it. But they left the conversation with Ron DeSantis saying, you've got my 1,000% support. Look, we haven't even talked about Nikki Haley tonight. I don't think he's going to put Nikki Haley on that ticket. Folks, politics is a nasty business. It's just a nasty business. You know, my buddy old Carl Whitaker, and I heard this on Instagram the other day. Somebody took this. It was the Smothers Brothers. They're still out there cheering. They're old as snakes tonight, but they're still out there. And Tom Smothers used my friend's statement about politics. He said, poly comes from the word many, and ticks come from blood-sucking parasites. And that's what politics are. I saw somebody say, I don't trust a politician. I don't think any of us trust a politician. Politics is a nasty business, folks. It's a contact sport. And I know we out here, we get all upset with people, and we want to judge people, and we want to throw them to the curb, and because they make political decisions. And that, folks, that's just the nature of the beast. I didn't like what Nikki Haley did. I didn't like what Ron DeSantis did. But Trump is a big boy. Trump's a big boy. And if you're not going to be a big boy and put your big boy panties on, stay out of it. Stay out of the kitchen. Folks, that's how I've survived for 7 years on this network. If I had a short fuse, or if I had sensitive feelings, and look, I know I've gotten accused of being that way, and it's so far from the truth. I don't care what people ultimately believe and don't believe. What I do care about is respect. I do care that people respect the parameters of this network, and respect the people in this network, and respect my guests, respect those in that chat room. That's my issue. It's always been my issue. But if I had any kind of not a strong fortitude to deal with what comes with being in this format of the world, I'd been gone a long time ago. And people that get into politics, they understand that. Most of them do. I've had a few that have gotten into it, and they didn't realize the contact sport, and it damaged them. And they've never been back. And we probably have lost, I hate to say this, we've probably lost some good people that had some good ideas that could have helped this country. But you know why they can't run? It's that blanking media out there, and this blanking internet, and this blanking slander machine, and this blanking thing that people go out and dig up dirt on everybody they can find and broadcast it to the ends of the heavens, thinking that's keeping the country safe. And they dig up things 20 years in the past, 30 years in the past, 15 years in the past, anything they can find to throw dirt on people. Good people. Not perfect people. There ain't none of us out here that's perfect. None of us. None of us. But because of the heat, they say, I ain't going to put my family through it. And folks, for good reason, I wouldn't want to put my family through it. But that's the nature of this beast. It's just the nature of politics in America. It's a nasty contact sport. It just is. I'm not saying I want him to pick Ron DeSantis. But we've got to look beyond 24. Because, folks, Trump's in there for one term. That's it. And think about this tonight, folks. Trump had 4 years of probably four of the best years economically this country had ever seen in 4 years. It's only taken Joe Biden 3.5 to tear the whole thing down. That's all. So if he gets back in, cleans this mess up for another 4 years, and you get another liberal loon elected in 28, then nothing that Trump accomplishes in 24 is going to matter. You follow that? So my personal opinion is he's looking at 28 as picking who he wants to be in that office when he leaves. And that's just my opinion tonight on this late night. And so forth. And Shannon, I just said that. I said that about Nikki Haley, folks. And it's what I can't even get it out of my mouth. And somebody's throwing mud out there about Nikki Haley. Folks, there's mud on all these politicians. There's mud on all these politicians. I don't know what part of the fact that people don't get that there's mud on all of them. And if you want to dig, start digging. It ain't accomplishing nothing. Who cares if she's with Sununu? Who cares? It's not like it's news flash. It's not like it's a news flash, folks. And, you know, I've listened to Nikki Haley since all this happened, and I've listened to her talk about her husband being gone overseas. He was going overseas when she got into this race, and she really took a beating internally. And maybe she got bad advice. I don't know. Maybe DeSantis got bad advice. It ain't the first time a politician got bad advice from somebody. But my point is, folks, if you want to dislike somebody, you can find reasons to dislike anybody. But we're going to keep doing this crap, and we're going to keep losing elections, and we ain't going to have a damn country. You understand that tonight? Because there ain't nobody going to fit a litmus test, folks, of perfection. I don't know what the living, what we would expect from these people that lead our nation. I don't know what we expect. I don't know why we expect them to be God himself. They can't be, because they're human beings. None of them are. And look, we know what we've gotten in 3.5 years, folks. I don't want to go through another 4 years of this. Do you? Does anybody? I don't care what dirt Nikki Haley's got on her. It can't be any worse than what we've experienced this last 4, folks. I don't know what part of that we can't see. And our side, this is what drives me insanely mad with our side. We don't get that. We will argue and fuss over the most nitpicking stuff over people. And then watch our country go up in flames. And when the country goes up in flames, oh, I don't understand why the country's in the damn mess it's in. Because we sit around and tore down the people that probably could have fixed it. At least tried to fix it. I'm a little late night, 11:53. I got 7 minutes, and I'm going to go out on Monday with a bang. Of course they all got dirt on them, folks. All of them. All of them. It's politics. It's politics. It's politics. But I want you to think about this tonight, folks, when you go home. How many good people are probably out there tonight? You know, I was telling somebody this. Think about the 2 candidates we got tonight, folks. We've got 350 plus million people in this country. And in 2024, through all of this process, we wind back up with the same two candidates we had in 2020. You cannot tell me that there are not other people out there qualified to run this country that we have destroyed with our mouth and all this slander and all these lies and all of these things because people want dirt. And they're afraid to get into this race, and they probably have got ideas and things they could do to help fix this nation. And we're stuck with the same treadmill that we're on. We're no further. We've gone 8 years, and we're back at square one as we go into this election race. And now, if Trump gets reelected, I hope he does, he's got to fix 3 years of hell, 4 years of hell that I'm not sure he can. And we will be right back here in 28 if we don't change the nation. We're going to be right back here in 28, folks, if our side don't grow up and be adults. I'm not fussing at you. Anyway. Let me just go ahead and hide the troll in the house. Anyway. You know, I'll amen myself tonight on that. I'll amen. Corey Aguilar's give me 100%. I'll give myself 100%. Folks, they all got dirt on them. They all got dirt on them. They just all got dirt on them. But there's good people out there that need to be in this race. There's good people that need to be put in this fight. But they're scared to get in it because they know what's going to happen to them. And the media is culpable. But it ain't just the media, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, and Fox. It's this blanking internet machine that people can get on there and hide behind a keyboard and tear people's character down without any remorse and without any kind of repercussion. And they do it, and they throw this shade, and they throw all this conspiracy talk out there, and they just think it's cute. And nobody wants that, folks. And again, our nation burns down to the ground, and I just don't understand why things are so bad in the country. It's a Monday night. It's my late show, and I get wired up late. I'm a night owl, and I like being here and running my mouth because I got my heart on my sleeve. I got the fire in my soul, and I got a mouth I can't control sometimes. I got a mouth I can't control. And anyway. Put some fire in that house. Put some fire in that house. Zella says, if you want DeSantis as VP, then I need a good governor like him before he goes back to D.C. Zella, I didn't say I wanted him as a VP. Look, folks, I'm torn on this VP. I didn't say I want DeSantis. I think DeSantis is going to be one of the candidates, though, in 28. I do. And I don't know if it's going to be harder for him or easier for him if he's number 2. This is a weird set. I think we're all conflicted. And again, all those folks that says Ben Carson's a good guy, I know he's a good man. It has nothing to do with his character, folks. It has nothing to do with Tim Scott's character. I believe Tim Scott's a good man. They're not my choices for VP. I'm struggling. I'm struggling with who I want. I know I don't want Kristi Noem. I personally don't want Marco Rubio. J.D. Vance, Byron Donalds, not a bad guy up in New York. The Doug Burgum man in North Dakota talks very good. I think Roger Hooker's comment just now that Trump will pick a VP, I think that ultimately comes down to what Chris McDonald wants for him. It's what Trump wants. It's his call. I just pray whoever he chooses, though, will not betray him like Pence did. And I'm not saying Mike Pence is a bad man. Pence made some decisions at the end that I did not agree with and did not like. And he destroyed his political career listening to the swamp in D.C. because he got his marching orders from Nancy Pelosi. which I got a lot to say about her this week. So be back with us here tomorrow night. All right. I've said my piece for Monday night and got myself in enough trouble to last a week. Did you enjoy the show tonight? Did you enjoy the show? Annie likes DeSantis. And Annie, you know something? I tend to agree with you. I don't think Ron DeSantis would make a bad president. I don't. I know that a lot of people have they want to dig up his little ties with everybody. Well, find me a politician out there, folks, that don't have ties to something. Do you not think Trump has ties to things? Of course he has ties to things. Folks, he's a businessman. He's an international businessman, for goodness sake. Find me a candidate. Please find me a candidate out there that's perfect, and I'll be glad to vote for him. And the only one that you could find, he's sitting at the right hand of the Heavenly Father tonight, and I don't think he's coming down to run for president. Not right now, at least. He's coming back one day. And very soon. But he ain't coming back to run for the president of America. He's coming back to take over the world. But find me a perfect candidate. I'll be glad to vote for him. I'm all ears. I'm all ears, waiting for that perfect candidate to show up. Because there ain't going to be one, folks. There ain't going to be one. I guess it goes back down to whether we want our country to keep going on the path it's going. We found out what a socialist-leaning left candidate can do to a country in 3.5 years. I think that's been pretty evident what happens when we get a bad president. Can't be any worse than what we got right now. It cannot be any worse. James always told me, he said, the Republicans have their problems, but they're not that crazy as the Dems. And he added a few extra vernaculars to what I just said. And he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. Because they're insane. Did you enjoy the show tonight? I hope you did. I hope you did. I hope you did. And again, we thank you for all the choices and all the comments tonight. We do appreciate you guys. Pirate Radio Adventures, James is in the house. Good to see my old buddy. James, thank you, man. I appreciate you, bro. I thank you. Thank you. Good wisdom tonight, man. I think you encouraged us. It's a great show tonight. Great show tonight. Great show tonight. Great show tonight. Peace, man. Peace. Tina and him mean the world to me. They really do. Me and him been through a lot of battles and we were on the same network together. That's how we met. And that network turned out not to be too good. And everybody split. Lost contact with all of them except one man. And he was the one that was on this network tonight. And I appreciate him more than I'll ever know. And we've stayed friends. And he knows he's got a welcome format here forever. He's got a welcome format here forever. And anyway. All right. It's 12:02. It is officially Tuesday, so I'm done. I've run my mouth enough tonight. I've got myself in enough trouble for a week. We're going to be back to get ourselves in more trouble tomorrow. Marie Miller, she's coming on. She's going to be with me tomorrow night early at 8. Rolando Rodriguez, perhaps tomorrow night at 10. You say, well, why are you doing double headers? Because we're in such a place right now, folks. We're trying to get as many shows on physically, humanly possible as we can. I'm not going to do these 4 a day. We're not doing that anymore. But the late shows are more relaxed, and because we get a different audience here late at night. And Orlando may or may not. But if we don't do a double feature, we'll definitely have Marie Miller tomorrow at 8. Vijay's coming Wednesday for Wednesday's our Faith Day. Thursday night, Lori Mills. You do not want to miss Lori Mills. She is going to rock the house. And Friday night, it is a good possibility that the one and only Jason Miller is going to be in the house. So get your notepads down, ready for Jasonisms, because he has not been on here in a while, and he will probably. I'm just going to not talk and let him talk, and we'll let him make his McFile. I think this is his first show of the year, actually. He'll make his 2024 debut. Listen, I love you all. And folks, these opinions are mine. You ain't got to agree with them. And I don't hold it against you if you don't. I've always told you, we don't try to stifle free speech in this chat. We do not like disrespect. Nobody's going to disrespect my guests. They're not going to disrespect you, and they're not going to disrespect this network. That's just me. But we care about what you think, and we love you, and we appreciate you. Been doing this for 7 years now, man. I've enjoyed every minute of it. The good, the bad, the ugly, and we got a country to save and a country to fight for, and I need your help. I need your help being here with me every night. Thank you all for being up this late. I'll see you tomorrow morning on our Faith Network or your Bible students, and then tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, Marie Miller on the border. We'll be talking to her. We're grateful. James R., thank you, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Have a good night, everybody. I'm going to give you a chance to talk a little bit as we go out with this great instrumental music of the McFiles. Listen, have a good night. If you enjoyed the show, put some fire in that house for me tonight. I'll see you. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Good night, everybody.